and watching the classes?
It was good. I liked watching Alexis's because the Saturday morning, it's
Mhm.
three different levels, or I actually think it's 1.5, 2, and then is it intense or something like that?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how she changes her language because the class plan was pretty similar.
Hmm.
There were just certain things tweaked, and then the way she talked and how much detail went into it changed. So it was really
Yeah.
good to
That's amazing.
do.
That's exactly what I want you to be looking at and seeing is that the class plan could be fairly similar, but she changed tempo. She changed even what she was cueing can change depending on what level it is. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Michaela, how was your Thursday night with Alexis?
It was good. I was the same. We were talking after because she does the 2.5 and then the 1.5. I can't remember the order of what was
Yeah.
done, but I was saying we were talking about the same thing after. I was like, direct is not the word that I want to say, but the difference in like, she was like, and after Alexa and I were talking about it, she's like, my 1.5s are my kindergartens, and my 2.5s are my grade threes. Like, they still need me, but they don't need me as much as kindergarten. So I honestly like that analogy too, because I'm like, it makes sense, right? Like the level of detail and how you're cueing it so that you're talking to someone who's potentially never been on a reformer before versus
Mm-hmm.
then when you get to 2.5, you're like, okay, you know what you're doing. Here's our foundation footwork. You know, like they know the position they're getting into, right? So changing it based off of where people are at too was interesting. Also, that was my first time trying OOF, which was very interesting. It was fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was good.
Good, 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 good. Any other things that are coming up with your teaching that you want to talk about before we get started?
Nothing
No?
specifically. Yeah.
No, you're doing good. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so what I want us to do, or the first thing is that I sent the email on Monday, I believe, about what your focuses in are for this next week. And it is similar. Like I really love what your takeaways were so far. So that's amazing. But I want you to look at just the specific parts of the structure of the class, right? So the warm up, the main sequence, the cool down, and you guys you're starting to see patterns, which is good to see this patterns. And then listening to the words and the cues. And you've already talked about this a little bit about seeing how the cues shift by level, right? About the kindergarten versus the grade threes, right? You do a little less, but still keep listening to it because the more you pay attention to it and make it intentional, the more it's going to sink in so that when you go to teach, it's going to be like, yeah, this is just normal. It doesn't, I don't have to think much about it. And then looking at this one maybe is a new one that you didn't look at before, but maybe you did. The looking how the teacher connects. How are they connecting, uplifting, and motivating their clients, right? And then looking at that and just watching what Alexis does to make people feel special. Because remember, I guess Sunday, Michaela, you did mat work with me. Sunday, you didn't. But one of the major things is people will come back if they feel like they're part of a group. You did that. They talked about that in mat work. Um, and so making them feel like part of the group, making them feel like you care about them, making them feel connected to you and the studio and the class is where people really stay, is and when they stay. The exercises are important, but they'll be overshadowed by if you're not doing that or if language you use or even the way you're interacting isn't making them feel comfortable, supported, and cared for. Yeah? Good. So that's your kind of goal for this next set of classes you're going to watch. And then so write those down and I'll give you next week, send you another email about other things to watch for. Just so you're writing them down. And then when we talk on the 10th, I believe, at 4 o'clock, we'll just go over them and see and have you guys share some of the things that you saw, because I think it's important as well. But your experience Sunday is going to be different than yours, Michaela. So you guys sharing what you saw and even the language that you heard Alexis use is going to help you help the other person hear things that they might have not heard themselves, right? So then you have even more language at your disposal to use to make that connection. Okay. All right. So like our first talk we had last week, we're going to move into, we're going to do some practicing of what we did last week. Both of you guys sent me your intros and exits, which were great. But first, let's get into a state. So have you guys been practicing getting into state? Yeah, how has that gone?
It's good. I find the pointer and thumb really work for me.
Yeah,
I can do
right.
that. Yeah, that's a
It's
good.
like an anchor to get you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And what Sunday do you get from getting that anchor and being into that state where you're feeling confident and ready to teach?
I feel like it just calms my nervous system as a
Yeah.
whole, and it clears my mind a bit. So I'm able to think about what I'm saying next, or even if I get a little, sometimes you're saying a cue and it feels like people aren't listening, and then you
Yeah.
try a new one and it's still not landing. Sometimes my words get all jumbled when I get like flustered because I'm like, oh, this works. Usually
Right.
it's not. So I find like doing that again, like it brings me back. I can think about what I'm saying next and just take a breath. And then it just helps with that. Yeah.
Amazing. This is something that you guys can use is think about this when we're teaching, and this goes actually when we're talking no matter what. But if instead of being concerned with what we're saying, be concerned about sort of conversation or the words we say has to do with the impact it has on the other person or the impact it has on the class. So because I've had experienced that too Sunday where I get like, oh no, I'm saying the wrong word. And I've said, and then, but all of that focus is a lot about me. And when that happens, right, you go back to that anchoring, but also if I think to myself, this isn't about me, this is about them. How do I communicate in a way they need? It helps for me to shift it so that I can get out of my head faster. And that might help for you too, for either of you to like, when you get caught up in what you're saying, be like, nope, it's not about me. It doesn't matter. It is weird to say it doesn't matter what you're saying, but the words matter less than their impact, right? And so, what is the word or the words that the person in front of me or the people in front of me need to hear so that they're going to receive the message that I'm giving them? So, you kind of play with that in your head. But I think for me, it can be a really powerful way of approaching situations where I'm feeling a little off-centered. Yeah. How about you, Michaela? Have you found a time where you've used that, or when you're teaching, are you using it?
Yeah, I don't have the physical touch for me. I
Yeah.
don't find it. I feel like it's more like I like would picture it in my brain like, okay, now I'm flipping the switch and this is like the teacher mode is on.
Perfect. Perfect.
And I feel like this week I've been and when I was with Alexis after that night, I was being so conscious of the weak language that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many times do I say something or add like unnecessary words?
Yeah.
So that has been helpful to try and just like make everything as concise and clear as possible.
Beautiful. And that the touch doesn't do it for you, that makes sense. So we all have a different way that we respond. You know how when we were talking about state, I was asking you to like hear it or see it or feel it. So, if we feel it, this is going to help. If you're visual, right, the flipping of the switch in your head is the help. And then other people, which is the weirdest, well, I find it the weirdest one, is hearing. So you hear a sound or a word, and that's what makes you flip, right? Because we're all going to have a way that we ingest or that we take in that helps us. Perfect. And then it's great. You can actually start to use that of when you need to remember things like what are the pictures, right? Do you look at pictures? Do you feel that? And you can use that to your advantage. Perfect. That's so great. Good, good, good. So then we can actually go to what you were saying, Michaela, of weak language. How has that been? Have you guys so Michaela, you're saying you've been hearing yourself and listening to weak language and hearing it around. Is it with you specifically, or do you hear it in other people as well?
I feel like I've been thinking about it in general now, like even
Yeah.
in my corporate job, how sometimes it's like extra fluff that's not
Yeah.
necessary. So I feel like I've just been, yeah, very mindful of it this past week. And specifically then in my cueing, like how can I make sure, especially when you get to the advanced exercises, right? When there's so much to get out, that this
Mhm.
is like the least amount of words, but is the most effective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think in your process, right, this, I just went from talking about like not being all about you, but you're in this process of identifying, and that is a lot about seeing yourself say certain words and be like, I don't need that word. And
Yeah.
as you practice, because we're new at this, so we need to practice and like, oh, I said that word, next time I'm not going to say it. Or you stop halfway because like, I don't want to say that word, right? That's all that practice, which you're right, is going to influence and help you so much when you're teaching, especially in the higher levels where you have to talk so much more. You have to say so much more to get the point across. Yeah, excellent. How about you, Sunday? Have you?
I find that I'm like very much my own worst critic kind of thing. So like when it comes to stuff like that, I'm very harsh on myself and I'll listen, but I don't necessarily hear it with other people. Or like if
Mhm,
they've made a mistake, like I'm not thinking about it.
mhm,
It's completely fine if they do. And then to myself, I'm like, oh, don't say that. So I tried when I was teaching Matt, I tried really hard to just take out words like maybe. And I find
mhm,
that I don't tend to use them that much when I'm teaching. But it did give me an opportunity to slow down and think about what I was saying next because I should
mhm,
be like, okay, we're not going to say maybe, say something else. And then I tried to listen to it with Alexa, see what like she said when she was teaching on Saturday morning. But I find that she's just very concise anyways. So
right.
it was like she got so much in without saying a lot at all at the same time. It was just like, and she talks like at such a great pace as well.
Yeah.
It's really like, I don't know. I was trying to listen, but I couldn't hear anything. But yeah.
Right. And the thing is, Alexis has spent time practicing this,
Yeah.
right? And that's it. Is that, do I think that you're amazing if you guys came back like, I'm so perfect at this? And I would say that I'm still practicing it. I'm better at it, but I'm still practicing and I'm still learning how to be better, right? This is just the beginning of this path. It's not that I'm expecting you guys to know it right now. It's that every time you start to have that awareness, you can change something that moves forward and you can change the words you use until it becomes just natural. Until someone's going to watch you teach and say like, wow, she doesn't use any of those filler words because she's just so concise and her good has a good tempo and a good sort of cadence to her voice. Yeah?
Yeah. I find it is like those words come up a lot more outside of teaching, just in like day to day. And that's when I catch it. And my partner is like, he heard that portion of our call last week
Yeah.
and he came out and he's like, that completely changed my way of thinking. He's like, I'm never saying maybe again, but now he's like, oh, you said maybe. So we taught each other.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
reminding yourselves. And that actually is a good thing to think about. And maybe you take this, oh, there we go, take it on. So I said maybe, right? So we can take this on as a secondary exercise or a secondary thing to work on is that when we're not teaching class, what do we say before and after class? Right? Because that's another component is that we can be really good at turning teacher mode on. I'm on teacher, I flip the switch. Then we get out of teacher mode, and simply as the class is over and your brain kind of goes, I'm out of teacher mode, and someone asks you, I would like to go up a level. Can I do that? And then can you use strong language, encouraging language to say no? And so that also is important because it's like that consideration that you have the class you're teaching, but before the class and after the class, and all your interactions with the clients is just as important as that class. Because you could have taught an amazing class and then said something that was intentionally very, very good, but was received made them feel uncomfortable when it was received, or what they heard you say, and their whole experience of that class just changed. right? So that's something that I would encourage you, and it might not be now, but as you get more practiced in the teaching and being concise and using strong words, what's your before and after? And both of you guys are talking about how you use that, and Sunday you're talking about your partner hearing. So you're catching each other just by doing that, it's going to all improve. But noticing or and remembering that the class itself is a portion, but it's all the time that we're spending with clients. And really, we could talk about class, but it's the entire time you're there at the studio that you're making that impact for them. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So you both sent me videos, but we're going to do it one more time. Are you guys ready to do an intro to each other?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you wrote down what you did before, but you don't, again, this is just the practicing point. So it's not about perfect, it's just about practicing. The things we talked about yesterday or last week was, right, we're going to say our name, we're going to acknowledge them for being there, something the class is going to be focused on, and then let them know, invite them to be up for it. So are you ready for that? How are you feeling? Or getting them excited about what you're going to do. And then just letting them know about if they need anything to wave you over and you'll help them. Yeah? Michaela, you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela. Thank you so much for choosing to join me for the next hour. Today, we will focus on upper body. I'm so excited to get your shoulders moving. If you need anything throughout class, feel free to wave me over, and I've got you. Let's get started tonight. Start feeling the burn.
Amazing. So great. All right, Sunday.
Hi everyone, I'm Sunday. Thank you for, oh, that's not it. Sorry, wait. Hi everyone, I'm Sunday. I'll be guiding you through tonight's class. We're focusing on the core. I hope you're excited. I keep forgetting that part, getting them excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need any help with anything today, just raise your hand and I'll come on over. Let's get started.
Beautiful. Excellent. All right. So then our ending, right? We're going to repeat our name. We're going to guide them into what we wanted them to feel. Like, do you feel your core burning versus asking them a question? Again, what that does leads them to the thought or to the experience that we want them versus having them go, oh, I don't know what I felt. Then connect back to that opening message and invite them back. And what I would say with inviting them back is assume they're coming back. So I look forward to seeing you next week where we can pump it, we can work in your core more. You're going to feel more burn, or we can build on what we built today. When we do something where we're more, I wish, or if you can, right? Again, the difference between and I'll see you, look forward to seeing you, right? You can just see that sounds different. It's like it's not even an option. And so they're going to leave the class being like, of course I'm going next week because that's what I want to do, right? And they've already made that decision in their head so that they can move forward towards that and then they'll come next week. Yeah? Good. Do you guys want to do your ending?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Michaela. Once again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope everyone's shoulders are feeling nice and strong. You feel nice and open across your chest. I will see you next week or hopefully sooner in one of my classes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Sunday.
Once again, my name is Sunday. Thank you for coming. Hopefully that core has a good burn, and I'll see you guys next week. We can build on what we did today.
Excellent, right? Really simple and easy. You guys sound great with that. And what I want you to experience too when you're teaching classes is that when you start and end like that, you look like the professional. And do both either of you or both of you feel like when you make that beginning intro, you're like, I'm on. This is me. I'm the professional here and I'm in charge because I know what I'm doing. It almost helps you get into state as well. That extra little bit, that touching the fingers or the clicking of the light. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So the next thing is now we get into what today was about. So today there's not a lot of substance for today. I don't know. I know Michaela, I saw your sheet. I don't know, Sunday, was yours there too?
Is it the PDF that was in the email?
Yeah.
I couldn't find the like link for it. I was gonna ask you about that today. When I opened the email,
Yeah.
um, where is it?
Michaela, did you just send it back to me?
It's like attached at the bottom. And I just opened mine in a Google Doc. It wasn't letting me like open it into Adobe to fill it for some reason. So I just opened mine into a doc and then I saved it as a PDF and sent that to you.
Yeah. Perfect. It was supposed to be easy and supposed to be a fillable PDF, but possibly it didn't work out that way. I'm just gonna
My laptop also hates Adobe, so for some reason
Yeah, the only thing I have at the bottom is just book a teacher training information.
Oh, well, send it again.
Is it on the one you sent Monday?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you don't have it filled out.
Yeah, that is why.
That is why. That makes sense. Okay. Let me just pull this up. So we weren't going to talk specifically about, what you've written. So Sunday, I'll send this to you. I'm just going to make it so that I can see it and you can fill it out. A lot of it has to do, for me, seeing what you filled out is it helps me know where we might need to spend more time, or if you're looking for, if there's places where you feel like you need more support, I can give that to you. One of the things I did want to talk about today was, and it was in the email, is this idea, and we usually talk about goals. I don't necessarily like the word goal. I guess I don't mind the word goal, but what I much prefer is a target. Because that word goal, everyone sets goals, and sometimes we get to those goals, but if you're going to set a target, can you hear how much more direct and intentional that is? I'm setting a target to get to this place at this time. And so I like that wording. So again, it's just different wording and I like to use that wording. But then the other thing or what I do and what I'd encourage you to do is that we have a target. Well, we just can't say, I'm going to hit that target and not put steps into how we're going to hit that target. So it's the same thing that some people might do with goals. Like I have a goal and these are the steps I'm going to do, but target just feels a lot more targeted or specific. So looking at what you're wanting in your Pilates career, where you want to go with it, and then setting targets or setting little steps that you're going to take and checking those steps off. Another thing that I really encourage all new teachers and really all teachers when they're moving towards something is to make sure that they're taking it seriously. And what I mean by that, and you can say like, oh, Caitlin, I'm taking it seriously. I really want this. But actions are going to speak louder than just, I want this. And it can be simply like, I want to, I'm going to do an exercise one, like I want to run 5 miles. Well, what am I going to, I've never run before. Well, what is a specific, well, I'm going to start to walk 5 miles. Or then I'm going to, and that's my first check mark, and giving yourself these easily stages where you can check off. And it's not like I'm even going to run a mile, because from no running to running a mile, that's too big of a jump. You need to do something before that. So giving yourself small increments that gets you closer to where you want to go and writing those out. So I know, right, Michaela, I hope it's okay for me to say that one of the things you wanted is to work full time, right? And then one of your things that you wrote of how you're going to get there is you're going to say yes to the opportunities that come up so that you can work more, right? So that's good. And then looking at even going farther with that is that, are you you could do something like tell the studio, let me know anything that's available, right? Or tell if there's other opportunities to work other places, I want to work, telling people you want to work. Or being like, this is my availability. I'm going to check this availability off. Or do I need more practice clients? Well, I'm going to open my schedule and I'm going to look for more practice clients and to book them in. So making these really tangible goals of what you want to do and then doing it. Because one thing that I see happen all around me is people are like, I want this to happen, and they want it, but they're not doing anything. And that's what I mean by taking it seriously. And it's a fairly, it's a little direct, but I feel like when it comes to getting what we want, being direct is important. Because if I want to get to X or I want to run my 5 miles, I need to actually go out and walk. I need to start my running. I need to do something to get me to where I want to go. Yeah, does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. I think that was it. Maybe a short one. I'm just going to look at my notes to see. Do you know, Sunday, and it's okay if you don't want to share with our group of what's your dream role in teaching, or what do you want to do? Let's start with this. What do you want to do with teaching Pilates?
I definitely, or that didn't sound right. I definitely want to do Pilates full time.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have more private clients, like working on the like rehabilitative side
Yeah.
of things. I also love classes, so that's,
Yeah.
but I do love working with people one on one and helping
Yeah.
get better. That's what happened
Beautiful.
to help. So yeah.
Beautiful, right? And so then another question, I know you're being put on the spot, Sunday, but what's your dream role would be? So if you had, what's the vibe of the place? Who do you want to work with, right? You've already talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say the vibe of the place, much less fitness classes. I find that's like a big thing now in Pilates.
Mhm.
It doesn't really feel like Pilates anymore.
Yeah.
So definitely less of a fitness place and one that focuses a lot more on like actual Pilates and
Mhm.
the what's the word? Like the principles surrounding it.
Mhm.
I'd love that. And then for clients who come in to be looking for that, not necessarily that fit, because I find they don't get what they want when they go in thinking, oh, I just want this for fitness perfect, or like to get like a good pump or like have a fast pace.
Mhm.
I don't love that. So that would be the main thing, which also includes a lower number of reformers. I feel
Mhm.
like just so you can really have one on like more time with each person. Um, I can't remember what was the other question.
Who do you want to work with?
I would say just well, instructors wise,
Mhm.
like-minded instructors, um, and just have a good vibe in general. And
Mhm.
for people, I would say I'd love to do pre and postnatal.
Mhm.
That's one of my goals. I like working with older people as well who come in just to move their body.
Mhm.
Same with younger. I just like people who like come for Pilates. Like they know that that's what
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, that's kind
definitely.
of my like number one, I'd say. But
Yeah, are coming in for Pilates, and then I, I think I take this away from like for Pilates to help their body so they feel better in their body, right? So that more of that post rehabilitation aspect of it. Perfect. Michaela, would you share yours because you've written yours so you can.
Yeah, like the three, like the vibe,
Mhm.
people, and okay. Vibe, I'm trying to remember now what I wrote, but like I would want fun, energetic, like a clean studio space that's welcoming, inviting for I guess not just like the instructor side, but then the member side as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think for people I work with, I said the same thing. Like, I'd want to be able to build relationships with the staff, but then also the members. So I guess like
Mhm.
opportunities for that to take place. Maybe like you said, kind of like not just your intro and outro, but the before and
Mhm.
after. Um, but even like I know you guys had your 25-year anniversary. So like opportunities like that where it's kind of more like social, come out as you can. Um, what was the last one? Location?
Who do you want to teach, I think?
Teach? I don't have a, like, I guess, specific
Mhm.
preference. My practice clients that I've worked with range
Mhm.
from younger to older, and I've enjoyed all of it. A lot of my practice clients are luckily coming to help me, so they have
Mhm.
my interest in mind, which is nice.
Yeah.
But like Sunday said, anyone who I feel like wants to feel better. I also feel like even I know that it's more trendy right now. It's kind
Yeah.
of taken a trend, but even I feel like there's ways to program like the athletic feeling
Mhm.
exercises for a client for them to still really get the
Mhm.
benefit. Like Sunday, I would also love to do prenatal, postnatal. That sounds amazing. And then actually, I don't even think I wrote this, but now that we're talking about, it, I'm thinking about it. I would love to also to one day get into training as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I train for work and I love it,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that would be a good target as well.
Perfect. Great. And then one of them, I'm just going to skipping down some of them, and we'll go with both of you guys if you're willing to share. But what makes you feel most energized when you're teaching? Or what type of teaching makes you feel energized, or what part of that day if you're teaching through the day?
I think like, for me, morning, just
Hmm.
morning class, I feel like people wake up, they're ready to move.
Yeah.
A lot, like they're a lot more excited to move.
Yeah.
Not that like people in the evening aren't. Like I think most of my classes from Matt are in the evening, and it's nice to talk to them and just have like a little bit of restorative time. But I don't know, I just love the morning. I feel like everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was gonna say. What was the first part of the question again?
Yeah, just like what time of the day, or what part of the day what makes you feel most energized to teach?
Yeah, I think the morning. I just like that
Morning.
everyone's ready to go.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Michaela?
I'm almost positive I wrote the same thing, morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
I think I wrote this in my thing as well
Yeah.
because as of right now, I'd be balancing my corporate job with this. I feel like that would limit me at the beginning to only evenings, which like I
Mhm.
totally could with.
Yeah.
But like looking long term, I
Yeah.
think that would be amazing. Yeah.
Right. And those are the things that I want you to think about, is that when we're writing these, or when we're creating this map of where we want to go, there's all the reasons why you're not there yet. And it's not that, it's that those are reasons, those are great. And that's again steps of what you're going to do that aren't your ideal scenario, but move you towards that target of what you want eventually. And so just keeping that in mind, that sometimes we do things that, I'm never going to ask you to do anything that, or I don't want you to do anything that you really don't want to do, but no, take on things that aren't maybe ideal, however, they get you closer to your goal. Okay, the last one I want you guys to answer for me is, how would you define success if you were working your Pilates career?
I feel like it would be like a sense of fulfillment. Like
Mhm.
where for me, I feel like that would be me seeing the people that I'm helping feel that help, or I guess feel the benefits of me being able to assist them. And now like I'm thinking about it even broader. Like I feel like that also goes more than just the Pilates, that they feel better in their body,
Yeah,
but making that connection with them, right?
yeah,
And I feel like sometimes people would come in for a private, and maybe what they actually need instead of movement is someone to show that, like, I
hmm,
care about you in that
yeah,
sense. Um, I think I mentioned this as well. Like, I feel like success long term would be being able to financially support myself doing this,
yeah,
where I don't have to stress about, I guess, bills,
yeah,
or you know what I mean? I don't feel like oh, am I gonna have enough? You know what I mean? Like that kind of like that would mean success to me where I have that like emotional side, but then also the practical side of this works for my lifestyle and my living.
Right. Because you can't have that emotional side without stability.
Yeah.
Right. Your brain will be, be thinking about like, how am I going to pay rent next? Right. You need that balance. Most definitely. How about you, Sunday?
I think for me, success is just as long as I'm still growing, like there's no point I feel stuck, again, feeling fulfilled. And I feel like a lot of people define success as like as reaching their goals and their targets
Yeah.
and happen, but I find it comes with each little one. Like I'd rather keep growing than just like
Yeah.
target and then not have another one. And that's like in my day-to-day checklist. I'll write the small, like even sometimes just like wake up, make breakfast because just like
Smart.
yeah,
Yeah.
taking the little things off, that makes you feel fulfilled and successful rather than just like that. And then it makes the big thing a little less scary. Like
Yeah.
it's easier to kind of feel like you can tackle it. But yeah, and then making connections and
Yeah.
making sure like people come in and they like leave feeling better. That's always,
Amazing.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
always.
and I agree with you, Sunday, is that when I say target, it's not like the target, you only ever get one target, but you get towards that target. And usually when, in my experience, I get close to that target, like I'm going to hit it, and then I make another target, and then I make another target, right? And it's not a fixed thing that just stays still. The other thing I think that's totally reasonable is that I make this target and then something changes in my life. And that's not actually the target I want anymore. So I want to make a target over here. And so I change where my target is. And that makes sense as well. It's mostly that idea of working towards something with those little steps. Like you said, I love that. Sometimes I wake up, I'm going to say, wake up, woohoo, check mark. I got one done. It's empowering. It makes you feel good to give yourself those wins because we're winning every single day.
Yeah.
All the things we do. Yeah.
I think also when like it feels like you're not achieving something, having those little things just
Mhm.
makes you feel better. And I think if I ever felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be or I wasn't happy or anything, that's when I'd know something has to change. But like
Yeah.
until then, as long as I can keep growing
Yeah.
and as well just what was I gonna say? Keep growing, having the checklist. Oh, and then being okay if goals change. Like I feel like sometimes you have one and if you don't achieve it or it changes, it can be a little frustrating
Mhm.
or upsetting, but like when I can get to a place where like I know that's fine and things
Yeah.
are changing, that's success to me as well. I think
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a huge one that this word sounds bigger than it is, but failing is not really failing. It's more like you're changing your target, you're changing your goal, you're changing your focus. And the better you get at so-called failing, which I don't really think exists, you're learning something, but the better we get at failing, the easier life becomes. Because really, failure is just, I don't even know what failure is. Failure is just, a reorientation of where we're going to go. And you're learning something. And it's not a judgment on you or your ability. And that learning that is extremely valuable. So I'm glad that you're working on that because it's I think a lifelong process to work on that.
I think it also stops you from doing things. You
Of
like
course. Yeah.
rather than, well, I'm gonna fail, you kind of don't really take a risk that you need to.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Perfect. And so then what's one step that you can take right now that's going to help you move towards where you want to go?
I
Either of you. Fine.
think it would
Sunday, you're on mute, so we can start with you. Yeah.
I think just saying yes to everything and then not being afraid to ask for what you want. Like if I needed more hours or anything like that, just saying
Yeah.
that I need some, like just not being afraid to do that.
Perfect. I like it. And yours, Michaela?
I know I
Similar.
wrote the same thing in
Yeah,
my
you did. So,
mind. But I think your reminder earlier this morning, or not this morning, the beginning of the meeting was
Yeah.
good too. It's not just like, oh, I'll say yes, but putting yourself out there. So yeah, I guess finding ways to do that and say, oh, I would love to be involved in this the next time you're doing training. Can I shadow or can I watch? Or
Yeah.
opportunities like that where you're like, oh, I think I could potentially enjoy doing this and be a good fit. So
Yeah.
how can I offer myself up for that?
Yeah, and both of you, like what you both said is great of like ask for things, not assume that you can't do something. You know, and it's simply as like you were saying, Michaela, maybe I'm gonna ask to watch this training, right? And part of you could have said, well, no, I can't do that because I'm at this level of where I am, but why not ask? And because the worst thing that can happen, do you know the worst thing? They
No.
can say no. And that's not a big thing, right? And that's another really good thing for us to learn is that no isn't a bad word and it's not a reflection on us. It's just a no. Okay, I'm just going to pivot. No, okay, so I'm going to do this, but I'm going to keep asking. Right? It's a lot of that reframing so that when our lives change paths, or no, it's not even change paths, deviate slightly from where we thought we had to go, less of taking that as a, oh no, and I'm going to not do things like you were saying Sunday. Oh, okay, just let it bump off you and keep going on. Yeah, because that will bring you so much opportunity to be able to look at and allow you to move forward so much quicker in this career and everywhere in your life if you'll just allow that stuff to bump off you or bounce off of you and just keep going. Excellent. Good. So I just love that. Those are great things. So Sunday, I'll send you the list and you can fill it out. And if you want to send it back, I'd love to see it. Because again, like I said, I'll look at it and kind of look at things you said. And if there's places where I can add part of that in to help you develop, I will definitely do that. Yeah. Any questions before we end tonight? Anything that's come up?
I don't think so.
No? All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming here and showing up for yourself and showing up for the future teacher you're going to be. My name's Caitlin, and I'm so excited for everything that we are building and creating and growing. I can't wait until we talk on the 10th at 4 o'clock.
Amazing.
Yay!
Can I confirm, sorry, Caitlin, the 10th, so we don't have the Zoom
Oh.
tomorrow?
There is a Zoom tomorrow.